teachings of the day. Welcome to Cherry Hive Facebook Live, Blossoming Confidence for Business Women. Now, this show is part of the Cherry Hive group show. But if you're a fella and you want to come in on the show and you want to, talk about things that are important to you, that's good too, because this is a show about strategies, basically. Strategies and knowing what to charge for your business. Charging what you're worth, charging what your services are worth, your products are worth, etc., etc. And I know for sure, being a woman in business for a long while, that I've used a lot of different strategies over the years. And some work more than others, and some have changed over the years. Even within a business, they've changed because things don't work all the time for all of us. So I know for sure this is something that a lot of business owners struggle with, decisions about what to charge for their business. Now, I'm not on my own today. I've got two beautiful guests, two beautiful ladies joining me today, as you can see. And they are Liana Allison, who is an empathic leadership coach who helps women primarily to overcome lots of different kind of hurdles and obstacles in their business. Using empathic leadership kind of approaches. Welcome, Liana, to the show today.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for having me. It's exciting to be here.
Yeah, good. And my other guest, lovely guest today, is Shelagh Brennand, who is made it with cold today. So we need to support her all the way today. Thanks so much for coming on, Shelagh. Sheila's a motivational coach, a motivational speaker, rather. She's a stroke safe ambassador, and she is a poet. All happened since she had her own stroke in recent times, and she's now helping get the word out to help other people to get the help that they need. So welcome, Shelagh. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. That's a lovely introduction, and I'll try not to send any germs down the telephone lines.
That's what I love about these kind of shows, is you don't pick up bits and bobs from other people. You don't pick up their bugs. But yeah, good spirit. Thanks for coming on today despite being ill. That's awesome. So we have all got I know for Shelagh, yours is a not-for-profit business that you run. Tell us a little bit about that first, about how that works for you in terms of it not being not-for-profit, because I don't know too much about that.
Okay, well, currently it actually isn't a designated not-for-profit business. It's just I do a lot of not-for-profit events, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay, yep.
Because I started off as a stroke safe ambassador with the Stroke Foundation, who are a not-for-profit organisation, the voice of stroke within Australia, I do stroke safe speaking presentations on their behalf as a volunteer to communities and health organisations in and around the coast. So that's where it comes in. Obviously, as I've branched out now as a motivational speaker, I'm in that perhaps transitional phase where I'm trying to get into private health, more public health, corporate. So I believe then that's when I'll be able to start doing some charging. But again, as you well know, Karen, I've spoken 30, 40, 50 in the last 2 years presentations. I've spoken interstate. So if I need to go interstate, what I do is actually often just charge my accommodation and flights if it's for something connected to the Stroke Foundation. Sure. Because many pharmaceutical businesses, big businesses, support the Stroke Foundation with funds. So I don't then want to go and then charge them another fee. I always get my exes back. So as far as I'm concerned, that's okay. But I believe I would really love to branch out where I can start getting paid for what I do. But at the moment, I don't mind, because I'm sharing an important message and sharing my story. So that's where I stick. That clarifies that.
Okay, awesome. And for you, excuse me, for you, Liana, you have run your own businesses for a lot of years, profit businesses, and done really well at it. And so tell us a little bit about what you do right now in terms of what you charge for. What kind of things do you charge for?
Okay, so basically I charge for the programs that I run, and there are a variety of those, from online short course programs to one-on-one coaching to the intensive breakthrough program, which is one-on-one coaching, including everything that I've got in my toolbox. So all of those things get charged for at different rates depending on how much time, effort and content is required. So I've got a scale that people can start at. And I've got a few free things out there too. Like I do free webinars once a month for the Empathic Leadership community. So that allows people to get to know me and then move into the more the paying basically structure along the way. And I think that's important to have a varied structure, not just have the one-off item that's the only way to actually get in for someone's product or someone's services. There's got to be especially in what I do, it's the emotional stuff. So people like to get to know me as well beforehand. So it's got to be quite varied, but I also am very strict in what the amounts are because I'm very clear on the value.
Yes, yeah. I think you brought an important thing up there about PR value in terms of just selling yourself and your services. And I think that's a whole new show that we'll definitely kind of do another time. But that is, there's a lot of value, and I do that too. I mean, these shows that I provide on here, I'm not getting paid right now, but they are PR value in terms of getting my brand around. They are PR value in terms of what I'm going to bring to the table later. And so, if you plan ahead with your kind of the things that you're doing in your business, you can actually, like you said, change the model depending on what it is that you're trying to achieve with it, can't you? Exactly. And within the model, it will change depending on who your audience is at any point in time. So, absolutely. So that's definitely another show we're going to do on that PR value for selling your business. That's got to happen, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so what I think from myself and from other people that I mentor and supervise and teach, etc., that one of the first protocols that most people say, when they're thinking about what to charge, the first thing they think about is, I've got to look around and see what everyone else is charging. Is that something that you are familiar with, that you've thought about or know people that have thought about doing?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a natural thing for everyone to do. And there's no harm in it, just for basically getting to know what's around so you can really compare and see whether you're in the right pay structure for the people that you're aiming at. However, if you're doing it from a lack of worth, then it can be a really big hiccup, because then you're just following the trend. You're not actually individually setting yourself up for your own business, for your own product. And information externally is fantastic. It's always helpful, but it doesn't always mean you have to follow it.
Yes. And it gives you an idea, starting point, I guess. And that's why it's safe for a lot of people, because they think, well, if other people are out there doing that, then there's a market for it, first of all. And if there's a market for it, what will the market stand? What are the brackets between people charging the least amount and people charging the most amount? And what is it? And the important thing you just mentioned there is you've got to look at what they're charging for. Like, what are they offering for the amount that they're charging? And do they have a sense of self-worth? And that is crucial, because, I know I've trained in my school, my academy, I've trained a lot of people that have come from a not-for-profit kind of background, where they're nurses, they're doctors, they're psychiatrists. They're used to being care workers, support workers in an environment where they're working for a company and they get a wage at the end of the week, and they love what they do. They don't do the job because they're trying to make a profit from it. They do it because they love the job and it pays the bills at the end of the week. But when it comes to then charging for a business, for your services, for actually putting food on your own table, because you're responsible for that, they struggle. They really do struggle in terms of having that sense of self-worth of, am I really worth this amount of money? Should I be charging this amount of money,
And I find
Sorry, go ahead.
And I find that those people that are in the service industry and that have been earning a wage, their characteristics as a person is very much about service. And it's quite often an innate part of them that feels guilty about putting a price on something that they think is actually, you know, a service that they have normally given from their heart. And if they put a price on it, it kind of makes it a little bit, I don't know, outside of their giving modality, so to speak. But people forget that we as human beings are actually supposed to be getting value for what we have to offer, our innate way of helping people. The spiritual law is that we actually should be getting value for that on a financial level so that we can sustain ourselves. It's not actually going against any spiritual laws. It's actually going with a spiritual law.
Sure. And Sheila, you come from I'm going to say you come from a background, Sheila, of what, like, I know my background has been the NHS and the probation service in England. And I know you've worked for the police service for a lot of years. I've trained a lot of police people too. And that's the same mentality as this is a service I offer. What's your take on that?
Well, my take is what I do now is very, very different. And I know that Liana and yourself were talking about value and worth. I believe I have a lot of value to give from within, but clearly, albeit I underwent training back in the police to train people, I was a trainer. I've not undertaken, I have in my motivational speaking, but I'm not a medic, I'm not a counsellor. My value I give is by being a stroke survivor. So when I talk to people, it's purely from my life skills, going from a police officer of 25 years, a private investigator here, to having suffered a stroke at 49, to make my world tumble over and get back up on my feet again. But there's many out there, many can put, as I can put that title as inspirational, motivational speaker. You see them everywhere, and I may be one of them. So if throughout my life and what I'm doing, I never receive money for that, that's actually okay, because as much as it'd be nice to receive an income, I don't need to go out to work 9 to 5 gladly, because I've got a wonderful husband who puts the food on our table. So I'm in a really enviable position where if one morning I wake up and think, you know what, this is just no good anymore, my fatigue's too bad, I'm not going to do it anymore, I actually can. So it's really good. And not being a member of PSA, the Professional Speakers Association, yet, because, you know, you have to really be recognised as a good public speaker. So if I continue with what I'm doing, that's okay. So if it comes to a point in my career in the next year, 2 years, whichever, that somebody says, I'd really like to employ you for this particular conference, what do you charge? I have looked around, but again, the disparity is amazing. So to me, it would be, well, what do you think I'm worth, perhaps, you know, because I am doing what I'm doing not for money, but I'm doing it because I enjoy it and getting the message out. And I get the money, I get the recompense, because when I go and speak, I sell my books. So I think that for me is a bit of a kickback. So I get the platforms to be able to sell my story, deliver my story, and then I sell my book. So I won't ever stop what I'm doing at the moment, but that's just maybe where, you know, people see value in me as a speaker. But some people, to some degree, forget that you're a volunteer, forget that you're doing this for nothing. And rarely, but it can be quite, I can't think of the word this morning. My brain's a bit fuddly. Just a bit... think of the word I'm trying to say. You're allowed.
Give us a context. Give us a context.
Expectations. So if you have to cancel because you're ill, which I did last year, thankfully, the group I was speaking to were very, very understanding. But, you know, you are a volunteer at the end of the day and giving your services to that group, you know. So hope that answers that. My brain is really...
that's great. That's great. Well, there's two things there. One is that if you're not charging, the expectation is lower. If you're a motivational speaker and you trying to charge the top rate that you possibly can, and you kind of attracting, crowds full of people. The expectation is you're going to be good at what you do. B, you're going to turn up on time. You can't just cancel. You despite whatever. And so there's some sense of there's a greater expectation, I think, when you're charging to when you're not, and that puts a lot of pressure on you, I think, as a speaker as well.
There's a lovely lady I know called Catherine Malloy. I don't know if you've ever come across Catherine. It'd be interesting at some point. She's just published a book, or Hachette Publishing, and the $1 Million Handshake. And I've been to some of Kath's speak workshops, and that's formal training, and she's a recognised worldwide speaker, and she's just wonderful. So I do, she's probably my mentor, you would say. So I seek a lot of guidance from her, you know. And can I just put in that I know Christine's watching.
Hello, Christine.
Hi, Christine. I hope you're feeling better today and having a bit of a rest. That's all. So sorry about that.
That's all right. Yeah, I was so distracted with your story there. Yeah, I do see. Hi, Christine. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, Christine was due to join us today, but she couldn't make it. So another time, Christine, for sure. So
I think you made a really solid point there, though, Karen, in regards to expectation. So if people aren't comfortable with expectation, they tend to charge less. And that's, again, comes back to how they feel about themselves and their product, and how much drive they've got to actually push themselves out of the comfort zone. So, I mean, my expectation for myself has always been something that I've worked with, and my pricing, however, has always been I wouldn't say high end, but it's certainly not. I mean, I don't charge $70 an hour for a coaching session. I'm into the hundreds. So what that does is I know that I get results. I know I can help people, and I may not feel completely comfortable or confident, but I know that when I'm in that session, they get 110%. So when people have issues with expectation, it's because they're not really seated within themselves in what they're here to do, or the product that they're wanting to put forward. And that's an internal mechanism that really needs to be looked at from the whole self-worth. What are you thinking? Where's your background even? Because some people who have a background in family business are far more able to put a price on than people who have had a family history that is more along they're working for a wage line. And I do notice that in people. And so there's so many different factors that can affect how we value ourselves.
And I think that's... Sorry, go Sheila.
In relation to expectations, I was more in relation to the expectations of people who you present to, and the expectations of what they expect. And some at the very beginning of many of my stroke presentations, I explain my background. I explain that I'm not medically qualified. I'm not, I'm not of no psychology degree. It's purely from training I've been given. So when I get asked questions, sometimes I can't answer. I always say, look, I'll take that back and answer for you. And some people actually get a little bit frustrated that I don't know the answer. I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, I'm a volunteer here. I mean, it's rare coming to speak to your group, but I always find it out for them and feed that back. But I think it's clear from the outset that the expectation is here. I'm a volunteer. Yes, I'm a stroke survivor, but this is what I can offer you today. And it's always well received, very well received, because I can bring in my life experience as a police officer and a person of, now I'm 55 years, I'm not 19. I'm not just moved out of college and done a training degree. Do you know what I mean? And I think that really resonates with people. They say the degree of life, don't they? And I think when you can talk about that, and I talk about, how it's affected me from a life perspective, I think people very much relate to that. I hope they do.
Well, also what you've got going for you, Sheila, you may not have those degrees and the paperwork to say that you've got what you've experienced, but you have got confidence in terms of you're able to say, thanks for that question. Wonderful question. I don't have the answer right now, but I will go away and find that answer. And that is confidence. That's an ability to be assertive with the people that are demanding things of you. And I think a lot of people don't have that, of all ages, but like you say, especially the younger kind, I think.
And I think, I mean, I'm sure Liana will know, and I know you've got years of experience in doing what you're doing, as you have, Karen, but I think it comes down to being comfortable with your subject and being comfortable with your learning and the topic that you're actually going to be discussing. I think that's where the confidence comes. I recently, as you know, talked at Ignite Brisbane, where it was a 5-minute presentation, 20 slides that moved every 15 seconds, and yes, I got that out, but it was a really weird feeling, because it was a little bit different and it was a little bit out of my comfort zone. I did well, but again, I was challenged, and I think it's always good, you know, within any profession, to keep learning and keep being challenged and keep stepping a little bit out of your comfort zone, so you don't present flat. You don't, you know, your business is growing. And yes, a stroke of portrait is my business, and yes, it may receive very little income, but it's still my business, and I'm still out there doing what I'm doing and helping others. So I'm wrapped with that. and I get known like things.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely, because you're a great ambassador for the cause, and I think that's what people warm to. People like people who are advocates for something or someone, and you do a great job at doing that. Moving on then to something else, which I think we've touched on already, is that the amount that you can charge. So we know that confidence is a big factor in terms of our self-worth, our sense of, are we worth it, and the background that we've come from. They all kind of add up to determine what we can and can't, what we feel we can and can't. So it's a lot of self-limiting beliefs in terms of what we feel we can and can't charge, and how we compare ourselves, I think, to other people in our arena. But I think a lot of people forget, when they're looking out there at other people and what they're charging, they forget what their own value is to the product that their service that they're bringing. So, for example, you know, in my industry, as in hypnotherapy, there are people out there who have been in the business decades, who have been in the business only just qualified, and maybe charging the same price. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what you've got to do is look behind the scenes a little bit and think, well, what value are they offering? What have they brought to the table prior to being a hypnotherapist, for example? What background have they got? I've got a couple of degrees, so presumably that would make me feel that I could charge more than someone coming off the street, which I do. I do obviously charge a lot more, and I'm also a trainer, so I add value to what I do. I supervise, I have done for years. So when you're looking at other people's websites and other people's materials and marketing bump, as I call it, is to look at why they're able to charge the amount they're able to charge and get away with it. Because and also a lot of people, I do myself, I provide MP3s. I do my own recordings and things like that, which I don't charge for, although it kind of gets factored into the price of what I do. So again, you know, it's looking behind the scenes a little bit. And I don't know if you're finding that, Liana, with your business, in terms of, I know you're doing something a little bit different to what a lot of people out there are doing in terms of coaching, but what's your kind of take on that?
I think you're correct in regards to people need to do their homework and be their due diligence. It's the same as purchasing anything. If you're going to purchase a service or compare yourself to someone else's service, then you really need to look behind the background. We can all employ a great marketer and look really great on the surface in the internet world, but you really have to look at what, as you said, the history behind it, the life experience behind it. For me, like, I've been in my own tourism businesses for 20 years with a lot of experience in business. So, I mean, drawing all of our tools together as people who've been in life for a while really does make a difference, and it helps people feel more confident in regards to our own experiences, how we draw that in, how we can actually connect with people through those experiences. And I think if people are trying to put a price on their service, they need to take all those things into account. The trouble is, a lot of people look at what they've done and they don't value it in the way that it should be valued. And that's where I think sometimes a little bit of outside help is required to actually say, hang on a minute, you know, you've done this, 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 and this, but you're charging as if you're a beginner in your service and or your product. And, you know, that's actually not giving yourself full credit for what you're bringing to the table. And I also have worked with a lot of people who they don't have a lot of confidence, and they're waiting to get the confidence to actually do something. And quite often it's do something and then get the confidence, because if you keep waiting to find the confidence or the I feel really good about this and this is going to, you know, I'm going to feel good about it all the time. It's not realistic. We can't feel good about everything all the time. And if we did, we wouldn't be growing. It's when we feel not so great, we get the opportunity to grow more as a person, which is, to me, what life is about. So to make use of those opportunities when you're feeling uncomfortable, to grow and expand more from inside is absolutely vital. And so there's so many different dynamics that can be happening. And I find them all fascinating. And, you know, I just love working with the people and finding out what makes them tick and how that happens, as you do yourself. So it's one of those things where I think to step up, people have to sometimes do it blindly in regards to not knowing what the outcome is going to be, rather than sitting at the same step and waiting for that clear vision to happen, because sometimes it just never happens.
That's so true.
And may I just mention testimonials? Because I mean, my husband is I would say he's a cynical Yorkshireman, but it can be. But he said anybody can write a testimonial about anything. But I do actually look at some testimonials of people that I know, and I think it's also, like Liana said, good to look back at the history of people, you know, the work background. And certainly in my field, testimonials I think are quite important, not just as an author, but certainly as a motivational speaker, and genuine people who have nothing to gain by giving a good testimony, if that makes sense. You know,
yes, it does.
So my mind does flourish with good testimonials. My speaker's bio has some lovely ones, you know, a broad network from, you know, OTs, you know, my stroke physician wrote the foreword to my book, those sorts of things, you know, they really, I think, resonate with people, because they think, well, they have nothing to gain by giving Sheila a testimonial, you know, it's just really helping her on her way. So yes and no with testimonials. I in certain fields, yes, but I think they are utterly important. I don't know if Liana has an observation about that with testimonials about herself.
Yeah, I think testimonials, and I like video testimonials so that people can actually see the other person live and talking about myself or the service that I've provided for them. So, but they have to be genuine. You know, it's like, for me, everything's got a feeling base to it, and you can always tell when someone's speaking, whether it's structured, or, you know, sometimes it can be that they're reading off a sheet rather than actually speaking from the heart. So, yeah, testimonials are great, and I think it's a step in people getting to know you. But it's not the whole picture. It's certainly one of the jigsaw puzzles in the picture of finding out about people. And, you know, finding out about people really comes down to just give them a call, just give them a message and talk to them one-on-one. It's always good.
Yeah, and some of the professions like ours and psychology, we do, you know, you're not allowed to. So it's great, you know, if you're an independent and you're not kind of attached to a professional association that bans these things, but they are great when you can. And like you say, they have to be genuine, because if they're not genuine, it just doesn't. And they've got to be able to retract them too if they decide to.
Yeah.
And I think you talked about live as well, and not just testimonials. I think live videos, you see the raw of the person. Clearly today, well, cold, looking like But you do, and I think I'm
Yes.
whether it's my police career, but I feel I'm very intuitive, and I can read people, and I sometimes get recommended for certain things. I think, no, I don't really connect with that person, you know. And I'm sure with Liana, you know, people will see her and hear her talk and think, oh yeah, I feel quite, you know, I feel you're very warming. I feel you're a very warm person, Liana, and I think, yes, I could work with you. But again, other people who may come well recommended think, no, I'm not really sure they're for me. So you have to, you know, as they say, find your tribe. You have to find the people who suit you as a person. So I think the raw videos are actually, you know, I don't know, maybe the best, or some of the best, because you don't have to practice. You don't read words, like she said. You don't, you know, you're there. This is who you're getting. This is me, you know, like it or lump it, you know, this is me.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a great show today. It really has. It's an experiment. It's one of those things, like Liana said, you don't know where you're going with this. You jump and you see what happens, because you never know. That's the thing. You never know where things could lead. You might be limiting yourself so badly that you never get off the starting blocks, right?
Yes.
There's some people, and I've been one of them at times, where you think, oh, it's just not good enough to put out there yet. You know, I need to work on this. But in fact, put it out there and people like it, and people give you feedback, and then you change it anyway. So there's no point in perfecting something before you put it out there. It's really So it's been a great show. We've brought up a lot of points today. Hopefully, you know, a lot for people to think about. It is one of those struggles I think most business people have, especially if your confidence, self-esteem isn't as good as it could be. I think look at that first. Like you say, don't wait to kind of solve it necessarily. Get out there and jump, because often that gives you the confidence to do what you need to do. You know, if you're constantly waiting for that confidence to come to you, it kind of sometimes never happens, right? So yes, a lot of points for people to think about today. I'm really glad you came on the show, guys. It's been a pleasure, and thanks for contributing. It's awesome. We'll definitely do something else again soon.
Thank you, Karen. It's been a pleasure, and it's so much for asking.
Have a great day. Oh, I'll also put some show notes out afterwards. So I'm going to put some links out to you guys, because you know, obviously these shows, I expect people to get value for what they do. It's your time, it's precious. So I'm going to put some show notes out and spread some joy from what you do.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care, guys. See you again soon. Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.